Good evening, and welcome to Celebrating the Darkness with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I'm Michael Tino, one of the members of your lead ministry team. It is so good to be with you tonight. Across the Northern Hemisphere, we are approaching the Winter Solstice, the longest night of the year. And so many Winter Solstice celebrations celebrate the fact that the light returns after the Winter Solstice, that the days get longer. Tonight, I want us to celebrate the darkness, to celebrate the healing powers of darkness, to celebrate the wholeness and development that can only happen in the dark. Tonight, we celebrate the darkness. Good evening. We light our chalice not to ward off the darkness, but to celebrate it. May its flame remind us that the darkness just outside of its reach contains healing, wholeness, and possibility.
Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body,
water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit.
I am the earth walking. I am the water talking. I am the air dreaming. I am the fire streaming into hands and heart. This is how we start round again. Keep singing.
Earth my body, water my blood,
Air my breath and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit.
I am a heart walking.
I am a heart talking.
I am a heart dreaming.
I am a heart believing. There's a world out there that really cares for the whole. Keep singing. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit. I am the summer walking.
I am the autumn talking.
I am the winter dreaming.
I am the springtime greening
Into hands and hearts, this is how we start round again. Keep singing. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath and fire my spirit.
Stephanie Noble writes, "Do not be afraid of the darkness. Dark is the rich, fertile earth that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Dark is the soft night that cradles us to rest. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. There is mystery woven in the dark, quiet hours. There is magic in the darkness. Do not be afraid. We are born of this magic. It fills our dreams that root, unravel, and reweave themselves in the shelter of the deep, dark night. The dark has its own hue, its own resonance, its own breath. It fills our soul not with despair, but with promise. Dark is the gestation of our deep and knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. We are born of darkness, and each night we return to the deep, moist womb of our beginnings. Do not be afraid of the darkness. For in the depth of that very darkness comes a first glimpse of our own light, the pure inner light of love and knowing. And it glows and glows and grows, and as it does so, the darkness recedes. As we shed our light, we shed our fear and revel in the wonder of all that is revealed. So do not rush the coming of the sun. Do not crave the lengthening of the day. Celebrate the darkness, here and now, a time of richness, a time of joy.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
My friend and colleague Erica Barron has made it part of her ministry to write stories that celebrate the darkness. This is one of Erica's stories, entitled Fox Steals the Dark. All the many years we thought darkness was the default. We thought light was the precious thing, the thing that could be stolen, the thing that could be lost. And so as winter came, we watched the coming of the night with anxiety, hoping always for the light's return, never quite certain that it would come again. Oh, we knew it always had, the balance of probability and all that, but how could we really be sure? Every night, though, the light did return. When the spring came and the balance shifted again, we celebrated the return of the light. We sang songs of praise. We danced dances of joy for the light. We told stories of its wonder and how it came to return to us. We painted it on paper and canvas and the walls of our most holy places. We rendered its image in cloth and glass. By contrast to the venerated light, the darkness was nothing but absence, loss, to be feared or hated or endured, but not appreciated, not celebrated, certainly not ever hoped for and honored. Darkness was to be protected from, not to be protected. Darkness could not be lost. But we were wrong. Oh, how wrong we were. In our ignorance, we began to look for ways not just to endure the darkness, but actively to fight it. We invented weapons to hurl at it, ways of pushing it back and calling forth more light. Darkness was not precious. Darkness was not vulnerable, and so we fought it with all our strength, convinced that the best we could do were minor successes here and there. Our ways of hurting darkness began to tear at the fabric of darkness itself. We could not see this, of course. Our attention was elsewhere, and even if we had been looking, much of this was invisible to all but the most sensitive perception. Nevertheless, the damage was being done. Darkness was fraying at the edges. Darkness was itself in danger. But though we could not see this, there were those who could, those whose perception of the world differs enough from ours that they could see this thing that we could not. The creatures of the night began to notice, and the creatures of the betweens, those who live on the edges of things. One of these was Fox. Living on the edge lines between forest and field, a being most active at dawn and dusk, Fox was a trickster, a shapeshifter, one who walked in the betweens. From this vantage point, Fox could see that the damage that was being done to the darkness. At first, Fox was not alarmed. Darkness, Fox knew, was old, old, and had surely survived many cycles of weakness and health. So Fox thought the darkness would find its strength. But it didn't. The damage spread. Fox became concerned, and then anxious, and then alarmed, and then angry. Fox looked around for the source of the damage to the darkness and saw us, the people, all our weapons to fight the darkness. Fox became enraged. But Fox is not one to start a fight. Fox is cunning and tricky, and more inclined to hide in wait, to work subtly. So Fox began by studying us for a long time. We didn't notice, but all unawares we showed Fox everything Fox needed to know about our relationship to the darkness and the light. Fox saw our veneration of the light, saw how we thought it vulnerable and precious. Fox saw our contempt for the darkness, saw how we thought it certain and of little worth. And then Fox concocted a plan. Fox could see that the darkness too rose and fell, ebbed and flowed, that we should fear for its safety, mourn its diminishment, and hope fervently for its return. And Fox knew that the only way we would come to see this for ourselves was if the darkness disappeared entirely. And so the trickster decided to steal it. Fox was pleased with the plan, and so one day at noon, when the darkness had curled up as small as it can get, and the light was pouring out onto the land, the fox approached on silent red paws. Silent as only a fox can be, Fox crept toward the darkness, until all at once Fox pounced. Fox seized the startled darkness in Fox's paws and bundled the darkness away into a sack. Fox carried that sack down into Fox's den and sealed up the door. And then, very carefully, Fox opened up that sack, and the darkness filled the den, so dense and thick that even Fox with those dawn-dusk eyes could not see a single thing. Darkness did not speak, but Fox sensed a wondering at this sudden turn of events. So quietly and carefully Fox began to tell the story. How Fox could see the darkness fraying. How Fox was worried about the darkness. How Fox discovered the people's attacks and decided they could only learn the value of the darkness if it disappeared for a while. Now, Fox had darkness in the den and thought that a time of rest and restoration was in order. Fox would do everything Fox could to help the darkness heal. What did darkness need? Darkness did not speak, but Fox sensed an acceptance and heard the longing for love, for stories of celebration, for darkness, for songs and dances and paintings and renderings in glass and cloth, for all the love that the people had poured out upon light for all these years. Fox knew that it would take more than just Fox to heal this hurt, but Fox could begin. And so Fox began to tell stories about the wonders of darkness. Fox sang songs about the gifts of darkness, and Fox danced dances of delight for the darkness. Fox's paws were not designed for a brush or needle or for cutting glass. Still, it was a beginning, and darkness felt a bit better. We, of course, knew nothing of this at the time. We just knew that all of a sudden, one day at noon, the brightest time of day, suddenly the light got even brighter. Brightness that filled every corner, a bright that stayed long after darkness should have fallen for the night, a day that went on and on. We had done it. We had conquered darkness, or so we thought in our ignorance and our arrogance. We celebrated. To think of it now, but we did. We celebrated our triumph. We sang our songs and we danced our dances. We had a feast that went on for days. And then we began to get sick. At first we thought it was all the extra food, but no. The sickness persisted and grew worse. We were sapped of all energy. It was as if the light were burning all the energy out of us. After a week we could barely move. And yet, for all that, we could not sleep. We simply lay, unable to do much of anything at all, but with no real way of finding restoration. The land began to suffer too. We could see that. We could see the trees wilting and the grain in the fields. We could see the animals' energy drain away too, just like ours. We became frightened then. And then slowly came the realization. We had been wrong. Darkness, too, was precious. We could not live without it. And now it was gone. We still thought it was our own weapons which had killed the darkness. We had fought it and we had won, and it was ourselves we had destroyed in the process. Having killed what we thought was our worst enemy, we discovered that we had destroyed, in fact, a most vital friend. We wept then, filled with remorse and sadness and shame. And then, after 12 days of this blazing, unrelenting light, all of a sudden the darkness returned. Fox had released the darkness, hoping that by then we would have learned better, and seeing that darkness was beginning to heal. The darkness returned pure grace, a second chance that even the most stubborn among us knew was a gift beyond any we had ever received. We wept with joy and with relief. We welcomed the darkness back with fervent love as the agent of healing that it had always been, but which we had never known. We recovered slowly, and we began to write songs and create new dances honoring the darkness. We created images of darkness in paint and glass and cloth. We put them in our most sacred spaces. We told stories of its beauty and its gifts. We loved it, and as we loved it, the darkness healed. The balance returned. We still love the light. It has a beauty of its own. The light without darkness is lethal. We know that we cannot survive without the light. But we love the darkness too. Love it with all the awe our hearts can hold. And Fox, well, Fox returned to trickster ways. Fox is still Fox, but there has been a change. Is it to remind us? Or as a gift of thanks from the darkness? Or just the natural result of carrying it away? We don't know. But with the senses that we are learning to use more carefully to perceive the truth of the world around us, we can see that Fox's paws are black now. Fox carries this story everywhere in Fox's paws. Today we gather to celebrate darkness, to celebrate stillness, to celebrate winter even, as the Northern Hemisphere of our globe moves slowly toward the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. We are called to embrace darkness with all of our being. Theologian Matthew Fox has developed a theology he calls creation spirituality. Creation spirituality looks at every part of the wheel of the year, every part of the cycles of life, and says that they each have something to teach us. In the part of the world where I live, it is growing cold this time of year. It is growing dark this time of year. And that coldness and that darkness and that stillness, they all have something to teach us. Darkness invites healing. Darkness invites growth. Darkness invites restoration. It is in that period of darkness when we can close our eyes and rest that we are restored, that our energy is brought back. In the story that Erica Barron wrote, too much light sapped the energy out of humanity. It was killing the plants and the beings of the earth. We needed the darkness to balance the light. We need that period of rest, that period of restoration, that period of healing, that period of growth in our lives. And in too many of our lives, we have lost an appreciation for that darkness. In too many of our lives, we have lost an appreciation for stillness. Too many of our lives have been overcome with worry, with vigilance, with action upon action upon action, with endless to-do lists that never seem to get crossed off. I know my life has. It's weary making. It's tiresome. It's the way that our society extracts our being, our spirits from us. So today I invite you to take a few breaths, deep breaths if those are calming to you, to move your body in whatever way centers yourself in your being, in whatever way your body feels natural moving, and to spend a few moments in silence, appreciating the darkness, celebrating the darkness, seeking the healing, the restoration, the growth, the wholeness that only darkness can bring. I invite you to celebrate the darkness with me.
my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Jan Aldridge Clanton wrote a hymn entitled "O Holy Darkness, Loving Womb," the lyrics to which are: O holy darkness, loving womb, who nurtures and creates, sustain us through the longest night with dreams of open gates. We move inside to mystery that in our center dwells, where streams of richest beauty flow from sacred living wells. Creative darkness, closest friend, you whisper in the night. You calm our fears as unknown paths surprise us with new sight. We marvel at your beauty, your gifts so full and free, unfolding as you waken us to new reality. O holy night of deepest bliss, we celebrate your power. Infuse us with your energy that brings our seeds to flower. The voice out of the darkness excites our warmest zeal. To bring together dark and light, true holiness reveal. O come to us, Sophia, your image black and fair stirs us to end injustice and the wounds of earth repair. The treasures of your darkness and riches of your grace inspire us to fulfill our call, our sacredness embrace.
Downward to our dwelling place, 3 times for favor and 3 times for grace. Open the dark clouds, your face for to see, to banish misfortune and calamity. In the name of Our Lady, bright Maiden of Grace, lighting the sky as she takes the sun's place, she is casting a silvery path on the sea. All praise to the moon for eternity.
We extinguish our chalice, but not the light of love or the spark of the holy that resides in each of us. As the darkness envelops us, let us feel its calming presence and welcome the longest night yet to come. Amen. Blessed be. And so the shortest day came, and the year died, and everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people singing, dancing to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the new year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Through all the frosty ages you can hear them echoing behind us. Listen. All the long echoes sing the same delight, this shortest day, as promise wakens in the sleeping land. They carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace. And now so do we, here, this year and every year.